Well, the Constitution is clear, and that, of course, is the supreme law of the land, that the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus can be suspended in a time of invasion. So I would say that's an option we're actively looking at. Look, a lot of it depends on whether the courts do the right thing or not. The courts are at war, these radical rogue judges, with the legislative branch as well, too. So all of that will inform the choices the president ultimately makes.
Welcome to the Ken Harbaugh Show on the MeidasTouch Network. That was Stephen Miller, one of President Trump's most senior advisors, contemplating the end of habeas corpus. I don't need a law degree to tell you what that would mean. Without habeas, the government would no longer have to justify or explain why it was detaining anyone. This extraordinary measure is reserved by the Constitution for the most extraordinary circumstances, like an actual invasion. That's not what's happening here. But we know Donald Trump well enough to know why he's seizing upon this idea and using immigration as the excuse. Because without habeas corpus, the state can detain anyone, journalists, protesters, political enemies, indefinitely and without charges. No trial, no lawyer. This is exactly what dictators do when they want to silence dissent. I wanted to talk to someone who has felt the long arm of America's justice system. We've had Pam Hemphill on the show before. She was part of the insurrectionist mob at the Capitol on January 6th, but saw that what she had done was wrong and has spent the years since fighting against the same kind of lies and disinformation that once sucked her in. She's also one of the only Americans in history to refuse a presidential pardon, the one offered by Trump to the J6 insurrectionists. Here's our conversation. I've got Pam Hemphill back on the show today. She is the self-described MAGA granny who was there on January 6th, was convicted, did her time, and rejected the Trump pardon. Pam, it's been a week of insane news. Donald Trump met with Enrique Tarrio at Mar-a-Lago. Stephen Miller is talking about suspending habeas corpus, eliminating due process. As someone who's been on the other side of this issue, who has maintained, however fraught, a relationship with some of these crazies in the Proud Boys world, how are you processing all of this?
Well, I'm really not surprised. I've read the book, The Dangerous Case of Donald Trump, and it's nothing surprising me because I really believe if we're going to compare him to Hitler and Stalin, well, all the evidence is right there in front of you. He's acting just like a king, and nothing's surprising me. I'm just hoping that there's something Congress can do to stop this insane man. It's just going to get worse.
I alluded to the fact that you have maintained a relationship with some of these people. That's overly generous. They have continued to harass you, is a more appropriate description. You have shared some of these messages with me. They're horrific, but you hold up. You hold your own. I've seen you fight back. One of the charges they leveled at you again and again was that you were not actually seeking to reject the pardon. You were just taking the high road, but not really on it. But you have proof now, and I've got the letter. I'm going to put it up here for everyone to see that I believe it was state senator, actually facilitated your rejection, one of the few times in American history that anyone has done this, facilitated the rejection of a presidential pardon.
Yeah, it's history. James Rush, the senator here in Boise, Idaho. I was surprised. I didn't know what to do. And I had talked to Georgetown University. I was on their show. And I said, all these lawyers, that they know, nobody could tell me anything, what to do. They didn't know. And a lot of people say, well, it's not even going to be possible, Pam, and whatever. I think there's 5 in history. I got to research that again, but I'm pretty sure there's only been 5. But, accepting that pardon was like, it's like when you get a bug on you, you got to get it off.
Yeah.
I was so desperate to get rid of that. I don't want to be a part of anything that Trump is promoting, pardons. Give me a break. Nobody should have ever had a pardon. And, Trump never researched their cases. None. I don't think he knows anything about them.
Well, it's this line from the last paragraph in the letter from the pardon attorney. It's the office of the pardon attorney. I guess that is a full-time job in the Trump administration now. And it's this line that stuck out for me. We understand that Ms. Hemphill does not wish to accept the clemency grant under President Trump's proclamation for certain offenses relating to the events at or near the Capitol on January 6, 2021. Ms. Hemphill's non-acceptance is noted, and there is no further action needed. Additionally, our office will not issue Ms. Hemphill a certificate of pardon. What a weird thing to feel proud about, but I'm proud of knowing you.
Yeah. Oh, I was dancing all over. I couldn't believe it. I had 3 people read it. I said, am I reading this right? I sent a copy to my probation officer that I had. And she says, I don't know what to tell you, but I think you're not going to come back on probation. I said, well, we'll see. I'm still waiting for that. I can hear Trump. Oh, that ungrateful lady. Let's give her a PO and make sure it's rough. I hope he's heard
I bet
about
he
it.
has. I bet he has. On one hand, we have these rare examples of courage at real cost, right? Because it means something to have a felony record in this country, while all of the other J6 defendants are walking around free and clear. Some of them are getting fat checks, right? I believe the family of Ashley Babbitt got a $30 million wrongful death package. I'm not sure what the details were, but on one hand, you have these rare examples of courage like you. On the other hand, the whole system seems to be falling apart around us and I wanted to ask you about this in particular. Stephen Miller, senior advisor to the president, saying that the president is actively looking at ways to suspend the writ of habeas corpus, which is game over, right? That means they can grab anybody and due process isn't required.
Oh my God. Is there anything Congress could do? We can't allow this to happen. Can I move to Canada? I mean, Steve Miller's the one that started the propaganda about Nancy Pelosi being responsible for the National Guard on January 6th. He's very dangerous too. I don't know what to say except for, how you hear these things? One thing happens and then you go, oh my God, and then another. I think we're hitting a point where it's way over the red line, way over. I don't know what we can do. I need more support from Congress hearing, what do they want us to do? What are they going to do? Maybe you could tell me.
I am getting older, as my kids always remind me, and every day I notice just a bit more of the aches and pains that go along with that. The most important thing I can do is stay fit, exercise, and eat well, but let me tell you about an aging hack. Qualia Senolytic helps the body rid itself of senescent cells, which are the so-called zombie cells that accumulate and can lead to less energy, slower workout recovery, joint discomfort, and basically feeling old. Qualia Senolytic is a groundbreaking, clinically tested supplement with 9 vegan, plant-derived compounds that help your body naturally eliminate these senescent cells, helping you feel years younger. Here's how it works. You take it just 2 days a month, helping your body naturally eliminate zombie cells to age better at the cellular level. And Qualia's breakthrough formulation is vegan, non-GMO, and tested by leading scientists. A big culprit behind that middle-aged feeling can be these senescent cells that linger in your body after their useful function, wasting your energy and resources. Taking Qualia Senolytic can help you turn back the clock, giving you more energy, less soreness after exercise, and a boost in productivity. Experience the science of feeling younger. Go to qualialife.com/Ken for up to 50% off your purchase and use code Ken for an additional 15%. That's QUALIA life.com/Ken for an extra 15% off your purchase. Your older self will thank you, and thanks to Qualia for sponsoring this episode.
Hey, it's Ken Harbaugh. Huge shout out to everyone who has supported this show via our Patreon page. If you want to weigh in with questions for upcoming guests or give us feedback on past guests or make sure you never miss an episode, click the link below. It's free to sign up. And if you're able to pitch in a few bucks a month, just know that we put every dollar back into the show. We do have another reporting trip to Ukraine coming up. Thanks for the help. Well, you mentioned Canada, and I think there's an instructive example there, not as a refuge for those of us seeking to flee this disaster, because I would implore folks to stay here and fight. But it is an example of elbows up and standing up to Trump and winning. And it turns out that old axiom, all bullies are cowards at heart, applies to Donald Trump as well. When the Canadian PM, the newly elected Prime Minister of Canada, came down to the Oval Office and held his ground and said, Canada is not for sale. I mean, who was the beta in that situation? It was Donald Trump. For all his bluster, all his talk about Canada as a 51st state, about invading Canada, he looked like a small and pathetic man because someone stood up to him.
Exactly. We know that from watching movies of children that, would go down that alley and get beat up all the time till they stopped and stood up to them. And that's exactly correct what you're saying. And you have to. You can't give them any wiggle for you. That's why I haven't stopped, even though they've come at me so bad. I don't care. Do you think about what they're going to do to us? I mean, there's going to be a time if we don't start doing something now, we're not going to have a chance to stand up. We're going to be set in one of those camps. And people don't take that serious enough.
I suspect that one of the reasons that your former associates and the Proud Boys and the 3%ers and these other extremist groups, one of the reasons they get so upset at you is that you hold up a mirror to them, is that you're an elderly woman who has more guts in the tip of her little finger than they have put together. And that must make them really angry.
I have a little advantage. I don't know if you know, but as a substance abuse counselor, I had worked with criminals that had 5 times in prison, real hardcore. And my supervisor comes in and says, you don't get tough on these guys, I'm going to have to fire you. But this book here, Inside the Criminal Mind, from Sam, I'm not promoting, I'm just sharing. I'm not, because he's passed away. But that, I had to do a lot of studies, and they're thinking, you have to mirror it to them because they have thinking errors, is what he calls it. They use religion, they blame, they gaslight you, everything the same as a narcissist. So you've got to be right on top of them and put it back on them because they don't hear it any other way. They have serious sociopath, thinking error problems, really bad. It's horrible working with these people. But you just stay consistent over and over. Push it back on them. Well,
you are an inspiration, Pam, both in the example you set sticking up to Trump and in your continued pushback against those who are out to get you. I assume you're participating in these the increasing number of protests that are happening around the country. Have there been any in Boise? What are you seeing on the ground?
Oh, absolutely. I just did the one with the mayor here refused to take down the pride flag. Hopefully, I'm coming to D.C. in the middle of next month. I can attend maybe the pride event there or whatever's going on. Maybe your friend talked about that veterans.
Yeah.
So I want to go there. And I'm going to visit some senators and bring my letter and put my foot down. Get that plaque up there of those Capitol Police. I'm going to yell at them and make them feel shameful that we're not honoring our Capitol Police on January 6th. So, yes, I love the events. Of course, I have to keep a little eye because, it's a little dangerous here for me in Boise, Idaho, because I was mega here. And so both sides are kind of weary of me,
It's, if memory serves, it's Idaho as well, where that elementary school classroom was, where the teacher put up a sign saying all are welcome here and was ordered to take it down.
Yeah, I met her. Yes.
You did?
Yeah.
Well,
yes, she stood her ground. Oh, man, I'm so proud of her. And more people are doing that because that's what's needed. In the book, Tyranny, if you give them, what's the old saying, give them an inch and they'll take a mile.
That's right.
Yeah, that was exciting. We had a lot of support for her.
Great.
And it's a domino effect.
It is. Courage is contagious, as is cowardice, as we see among the Republican intelligentsia and political class. But courage is contagious as well, and you are one of the best examples of that I have ever known. Keep me apprised of your plans for visiting DC. Would love to meet up with you in person. If we can link up at the Vets March or the Pride March.
Yeah, I want to invite the Proud Boys.
Okay.
So I can really tell them.
All the more respect to you for it. All right, Pam, thank you so much. We're going to leave it there. Let's have you back soon.
Okay, thank you for having me on.
New Midas merch drop! Check out the latest pro-democracy sticker packs, t-shirts, hats, sweatshirts, and more, all at store.MeidasTouch.com.